We are starting today with cancer. It is a very scary word. It's very personal to many of us, and a diagnosis that no one wants to hear. For the majority of folks, the first word that comes to mind when you hear cancer, unfortunately, is death. Let's be honest. But here's a question for you. Is our fear of cancer outdated and even dangerous? This is something that CNN anchor Sara Sidner recently faced. Here's what she said about it.
Here I am with stage 3 breast cancer. It is hard to say out loud. I have thanked cancer for choosing me. I'm learning that no matter what hell we go through in life, that I am still madly in love with this life. And just being alive feels really different for me now. I am happier because I don't stress about foolish little things that used to annoy me. And now every single day that I breathe another breath, I can celebrate that I am still here with you. I am here with my co-anchors, my colleagues, my family, and I can love and cry and laugh and hope. And that, my dear friends, is enough.
Wow, what a perspective. You got this, Sara. We are thinking of you. Okay, so here to tell us all about this, to talk more about it, our very own Dr. Coley. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, Doc, before we get to this, I just want to point out, you don't have to have cancer to think like that, right? It's within your own choices to not worry about politics or things you control, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, whatever's bothering you on a daily basis, to feel that way about life. That being said, I really feel for Sara. I don't know what I'd do in those shoes. Is it the death sentence that we thought it was a decade ago, or have we made improvements to have some hope?
We have made so many improvements, and this cancer phobia, this fear of cancer that we've had for so long, it's not serving us well anymore. And as Sara said, and as you just said so well, Jeff, actually changing our attitude about cancer helps us to fight it better. So I think it's time for us to really think about upgrading, doing a software upgrade on how we think about our attitude towards cancer. Now, I don't want to make it seem like cancer is not bad. Right. Cancer sucks. Cancer is a terrible enemy. It's the second leading cause of death in the United States. But how we start to think about cancer helps us to approach screening, prevention, diagnosis, and treatment a little better, and helps us to cope a lot better. So I want to dig a little bit about why have we evolved such a big fear of cancer. Cancer represents death. Right. We're all afraid of death. But even more than death, we're afraid of suffering and pain. Yep. Before death. So that's where we need to tell our brain that most cancers now, 2 out of 3 cancers, are actually chronic conditions, or they're cured. They're not going to make us suffer. They're not going to be something that causes us a lot of torture and pain. So that's one thing we can do. We fear losing control, right? Yeah. Because when you get a diagnosis of cancer, it's a death sentence. There's nothing you can do. No, that's not actually the case, because we've actually reduced the risk of dying from cancer by 33% in the last couple of decades. So I think we've made tremendous progress. Again, cancer is still a big enemy. It's the emperor of all maladies, but how we think about it is really going to change our fight against it. Yeah. But, hearing the things I just said to you guys, does this change the way you think about cancer? How would you feel if you or a family member got diagnosed?
That kind of leads to my question for you, because we're talking about we and us in a very general way, but I'm thinking, just for Black folks in general, is this the same? Is this like a uniform fight that we all have, or do different ethnicities and racial groups have different statistics as it deals with mortality and cancer?
I mean, this is a huge gap, Al, and I'm so glad that you brought it up, because Black Americans are more likely to get cancer, and they're the ethnicity and racial group that's most likely to die from cancer and has the shortest survival after being diagnosed with cancer. I mean, this is a huge, huge, huge miss on the part of the medical community, and I talk about software updates, but this is a hardware update that needs to occur. So this is a major change in how we think about prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of Black individuals, getting them access to care, getting them vaccinations, getting them screened, and getting them treated.
Okay.
How are you feeling, Tori?
I haven't really said it out loud on this show, but my mom has AML, which is acute myeloid leukemia. And it's hard to think, but leukemia is a type of cancer. And when my dad was writing to me, he finally said, leukemia, there, I said it. And I guess what you're saying to me is, when I think of my mom and I think of leukemia, all I see is big, red, scary, black, and scary dragons coming at her with fire breathing. And you're saying that there's a coping mechanism, there's some hope in there. I just want to say it's still a really scary thing to hear. There's no good cancer. And you're scared of them being in pain the most. So I appreciate you saying that they can be under control, but the pain is what scares me, the suffering.
And you know, Tori, I'm so glad you said that, because not all cancer is created equal.
Yeah.
And there are some that we worry about more, and that can have a more significant impact on, you know, how we think about our family members at the end of their life. But the therapies that we've got, the chemotherapies, the radiation therapies, the pain control therapies, I want you to focus on the positive.
Okay.
I want you to focus on how AML today is so different from AML 20 or 30 years ago.
Right.
And we have so many more tools we can offer Judy and other patients that are fighting cancer.
Thanks, Doc. Thanks, everyone.
Shout out to
Thank
Judy.
you. Yeah, it's hard to say the word that my mom has cancer.
I know.
It's a really terrifying thing to say.
It is. I know. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry, Tori.
But I know she's probably watching and she's going to kick its butt, but I'm just saying.
She will.
Anytime you even say the sentence, it's like breathtaking.
I know. It is.
Yeah.
I know.
But thank you for that information. Let's switch gears here.
Yep, okay.
On a brighter note here, because we got some good news from Michael Bolton. Unfortunately, he said over the holidays, he did find that he had a brain tumor. He got immediate surgery. He said the surgery was very successful, but he's taking some time to recover. Can you talk to us about this?
A brain tumor is one of the most frightening diagnoses that any of us could get. And 90,000 people every year get diagnosed with a brain tumor. Now, there's benign brain tumors and cancerous or malignant ones. But usually, for the most part, a brain tumor needs to come out. So you have to have surgery for it, because think about our head. It's a closed compartment. And if there's a mass in there that's growing, it starts to push on different parts of the brain. And our brain is a master computer. So what type of symptoms we might have will depend on where the mass is. A lot of people get headaches. People can have seizures. But if the mass is in your language area, you could have problems with word finding difficulties. If it's in your vision area, you could have black spots or trouble with your vision. So I don't know exactly what type of tumor Michael Bolton had. Hopefully it's benign and not cancerous, but taking it out is the first step in treatment. And a lot of times the way that we take it out is really very fascinating. We do it awake. We keep the patient awake and then do the surgery, taking out the tumor, so we can see how the surgery is impacting different parts of their brains.
You've seen them on YouTube with them doing
incredible, yes.
the famous violinist, and they say play now, and they're in the middle of doing surgery.
My biggest concern with that, and I'm happy to hear Michael Bolton say I'm going to take time off and I'm going to tackle this, is in reality, most Americans, and my sister went through this when she had cancer, when you take time off, you don't get a paycheck.
Wow.
The majority of Americans, my sister's still trying to climb out of that hole a year and a half later. And when you have children, it adds to that. So I just hope that, you know, with the technology comes also the systemic and the things that we can do as taxpayers to make sure, and our corporations can do, that if you do get cancer and it's not a death sentence, that it doesn't also take all of your financial savings with you, with it. So,
that's a good point.
And Sam, you're talking about financial, but even physically rebuilding after surgery.
Yep.
It's a tremendous task.
Yep.
And we don't, you know, give it enough importance. We just say,
You're
oh,
right.
6 weeks, get back to work,
no,
or
you're
4
right.
weeks.
Mentally, physically, all of it. Thank you so much, Dr.
Thanks,
Coley.
Doc. Thank you.
And Tori, thank you for just your
Absolutely. And
transparency.
thank all of you, I mean it, and up here, thank you guys.
We are praying for you, Judy. You got this. DBL Nation, go and follow Dr. Coley on social media at Pyle Coley MD. Also, be sure to subscribe to her YouTube page, plus check out her podcast, Heart of Medicine, wherever you listen to your podcast. Thank you so much, Dr. Coley, as always, and congratulations on your award.
Thank you.
What award?
Educator, like, of the year? Something like that.
Yeah.
The American
Nailed it.
College of Cardiology.
All right, Doc.